Going for a take? Take one. Action.
We are going for a take where we get the take of those who work in the film and TV industry on a specifically chosen film or series and about their time in the business.
Yep, and today's take is a special episode on Waterloo Road. Oh, and this is your spoiler warning.
And in today's take, we're going back to school with Olly Rhodes.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, we're laughing because I'm clumsy. And also, this is the second time that we've done
Literally
this.
5 seconds in.
They don't know that.
Oh, they know it
this
now.
is
I'm
the
being
first time.
transparent. We filmed this already. We're doing it again.
That was
Yeah,
the
this
tech
is
rehearsal.
actually take two. We just smashed it so much the first time we thought we could do it better.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah, the tech rehearsal went really well, so we
Yeah,
thought, why not?
It was a dress rehearsal, tech rehearsal, the first one.
You have to do this all the time on set. It's normal. You know.
It's not like we spent a lot of money on the first take either, but it's fine. You know,
Well, talking about on set, Ollie, how was your time on Waterloo Road?
Oh, yeah, good. I don't really know how much detail you want me to go into for this bit.
Tell us everything.
Mate, yeah, it's been a really good experience and just really interesting. Like, I've learned so much and developed a lot, and it's literally like I went back to school. So it was just lovely, overwhelmingly.
back to school in terms of like acting, in terms of
Yeah.
like trying new stuff out.
So like, I never went to drama school or anything, so I very much learned on the job and like learned my craft doing it, which is a bit nerve-wracking, and in my earlier jobs you can definitely tell. Whereas on this one I feel like I developed a lot and like actually learned what works for me and what processes I need to sort of use, and when I need space, when I don't need space, when I need a little bit extra support, when I need to hang out with friends, when I just need to be like, please leave me alone.
Yeah, because I imagine with like how dark it goes in this series, was that something that you fostered in like earlier career stuff then, or was it like as it got darker, the storyline, you were like, okay, I need to set some boundaries to be able to give my best work?
Yeah, I think in this one, so in previous jobs, I was very green, and I was very much just coming in being like, I need to make as many friends and as many connections as possible. And just be like, if I'm going to be successful in this industry, I need to get along with everybody. And like, I'd go out of my way to be absolutely pristine to everybody, but that would a lot of the time have a detrimental effect on my actual performance, because I'm then not spending time doing my job. I'm spending time socializing, which is not what you go to work to do. Whereas on this job, I was eased in, so I got to make a few friends before the heavy stuff sort of started. But as it progressed, I definitely said to production, I was like, can I not do this? Can I just sit by myself? Can I just have a minute just to...
Were you told initially the direction that your character was going in, or was that a work in progress with story?
No, so...
In fact, can you, just for anyone who's watching, or listening, not seen it, can you give a brief summary of the direction that it went?
Yeah, so Billy and his dad joined Waterloo Road. His dad is the new head teacher.
Who plays him?
Jason Manford.
No
The
way.
legend that is. Lovely man, by the way. We'll go into him in a bit. We join. He's the new head teacher, taking over from Kim Campbell, played by Angela Griffin. Also lovely. She directed a couple of episodes at the end of the series. Fantastic. He takes over and drags Billy with him. And when I say drag, I literally mean drag, because Billy is not very happy about this. He was quite settled at his previous school.
In my brain, I thought you came in drag. That's where my brain went.
Can you? That different show, very different show.
That's in the bloopers.
Yeah, Billy starts at the school, makes a few friends, but then sort of gets off on the wrong foot with one character in particular.
Which character is this?
Shuey Weaver, friend of the show, Zachary Sutcliffe. And they sort of they go to war, basically. It's very one-sided. Shuey kind of bullies Billy a lot, and sort of, we are going to talk about bullying quite a bit in this episode. So if any of you are going through anything like that, please talk to an adult. Go to the BBC website. You can find a lot of support on there. There's so many supportive phone lines, websites, things out there. Just reach out. Somebody will be able to help you. Don't sit in silence, because Billy does, and it all goes wrong quite spectacularly. And yeah, he ends up taking somebody else's life, and then they have to cover it up. and it just ruins Billy's little head. Bless him.
Who does he murder?
Boz Osborne, who is sort of Shuey's right-hand man in the show, played by Nathan Wood. This was his first acting job as well, and he does a fantastic job.
He's sick. He's so good.
Brilliant.
He's brilliant. And he also just the loveliest person. Like, he's so nice. You need to get him on here because he's so lovely. But yeah.
Possibly say.
Oh, you already got him lined up?
Okay. I can't possibly say.
So yeah, there you go. There's your little outline of the series.
So I felt like after episode 4, it got very intense very quickly. Before that, it was like there was a build up, but it wasn't like intense. After episode 4, it just all went intense to the point where I didn't know what was going to happen for you. You looked traumatized for like half the series. It was a lot. How did you cope with that?
A lot of hot honey and lemon teas, and a lot of time just sort of thinking about, like, you know, how do I protect myself whilst also putting myself through this? Because sort of as actors, even though it is all pretend, your body doesn't know the difference. So if I'm on set crying as Billy because Shuey's picked on me or said something or physically done something to me, I'm still crying. Like, my body still thinks it's having a bit of a panic attack, still having a minute, even though in my brain, going for bread, in my brain, I've said, like, hey, no, you're fine. Like, this is all fake. Don't worry. Zach's literally my best friend. Like, he would never do that. It's Shuey. It's fake. It's not real. My body still has like an adrenaline rush, still has a bit of a, and I still have to calm myself down from that. So it's a lot of thinking, okay, how can I best look after my own mental health outside of the show? Because otherwise I'm not going to be able to jump into it when I need to. So that was very interesting to do, sort of figuring out.
Did you have a lot of help understanding the psychological state of mind that your character was in? Like, did you study any other actors or characters or real events?
Not really. I kind of wanted it to be my own a little bit. So I use emotional memory a lot, which is an acting technique, where you sort of think back to times in your life where you might have been going through something similar, or just something that brings out the correct reaction. And I can do that quite well and like bring it to the surface and display that. But I didn't want to watch another character go through a similar thing and then just copy what that actor did. Even though it would be similar, because human beings do things similarly to each other. Like, that's just human nature and, you know, the world we live in. Like, we all mimic things from different people all the time. But I didn't want to just do it again. I wanted to make it original. And Billy sort of develops a tic halfway through. That was a complete accident. That just happened. And then I was like, okay, well, I guess he ticks now.
What was the tic?
It's like his neck, like, or like tenses up, and like that then forces your head to sort of go forward a little bit. And it's like, whenever sort of in the later episodes, Boz is mentioned, or he sees Shuey, or like, you know, just his headspace is messed with. It sort of bubbles up from his belly into his neck, and it just goes.
And I felt like it bubbled up more and more each episode. Like the final episode, which we'll talk about, that rooftop scene, because I feel like we have to.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it felt like it just kept getting worse and worse and worse, to the point where you were holding down like all this pain and like guilt, and you see it in the end in the scene where you're with your dad and you're like, you need to turn yourself in, and he's like, we can run away, Billy, it's fine. And you see that constant tick going and going and going, and for me that whole time I was just thinking, like what are you hiding that's so painful? And like, we see that as the audience, but like in the show, for you experiencing that as the character, that must have been quite intense, right?
I was exhausted.
Yeah,
it was a lot. But it was filming that sequence, the whole from the rooftop, well, from Boz's memorial, really, from Boz's memorial all the way to the rooftop, to the field, to the police station. That spanned like a week, and we shot it all out of sequence, which was really hard to do because you were constantly being like, okay, I'm at the height of this breakdown now. And then going to the police station, I'm like, okay, well, I know it's over now. I don't know what comes next, but it's over. Yes, it's going to be the last time I see my dad. That's really sad. So I am still upset, but ultimately I can sort of relax. So it's almost like I had little breaks whilst filming it because we'd go to the police station and like, I'd be able to just relax my body a bit. I'd still be crying, but compared to what I was doing, it was quite tame.
Were you like able to sort of pitch the performance then in terms of not like planning what sort of emotion that you're having, but at least the level of like where you are at with, say, like the block that you're on then?
Yeah. So it's a tricky one because so for the entire series, if you look at the entire series, we don't get all of the scripts straight away. We get 2 at a time. So for the entire thing, it was quite tricky to sort of plan where I was going with the performance because I did my first episode. Obviously, I'm not in the first one, so I joined in episode 2, and it's quite happy. But at the end, he does get jumps by Shuey, and that was just a bit of fun, really. I didn't really know what was to come. They hadn't said anything. They were like, "Yeah, there's a storyline here, but we've not decided yet." I don't think they knew where it was going properly. They had an idea of like, we want this key event to happen. We have to somehow get there. But they didn't tell me that. No, that's a lie. I tell a lie. I knew that I did end up unaliving somebody else.
Manslaughter.
Yeah. I did know that from day one, and Nathan didn't. And that was an interesting interaction.
Nathan didn't, did you say?
He didn't, no. The first day so I was sat with Jason in the green room just chatting, and it was like week 1. We were there for, I think, chemistry coaching, just like developing the father-son relationship. And Nathan walked in because he had his session after us. And obviously it's his first job, so he came in dead excited, like quite bubbly, being like, I don't really know what's going to happen with the character. Like, you know, I'm only scheduled for 5 eps at the moment, so we'll just see where it goes. I hope they keep me on. And me and Jason were just sat there like,
Sorry to break it to you.
Oh no!
Please go talk to the producers. I mean, he found out that day. But I think he only got cast like 2 days prior, so it was a really fast turnaround. So they just hadn't had a chance to tell him yet. So it was fine in the end, and ultimately they brought him back for an extra episode anyway in episode 8 for Billy to start hallucinating him. Yeah.
Wow.
I just wanted to bring it back to the casting. Then you mentioned casting. What was it like? How did you get cast? What was the process?
It was like a 3-month process in total. I got an email off of my agent, just sort of saying, oh, they're casting new regulars. There's a nice part here that you might be right for. It's not that big at the moment. It's just like 7 eps, 1 season. You know, we'll see. But yeah, it'd just be a nice thing to do for a couple of months. You know, get some money, pay some bills, have a job. So I filmed a tape, sent it off. Didn't hear anything then for a couple of weeks. Then they sort of responded finally. I was like, oh yeah, we actually really liked you. Could you do it again? But just like tweak it ever so slightly. So I sent another video in.
What was the tweaking?
I think
If you can remember.
I think they wanted him a bit more sensitive to his mum. So the scene that was my tape scene was literally my first scene in the show, where Tonya Summer has just lost her nan. And Billy sort of comes across her and says, hey, do you know where 10S is? I'm new to this school. And she's like, I've just lost my nan. I'm not going anywhere. And Billy relates to that with his mum, because he lost his mum at quite a young age. And what was I saying? I've lost my train of thought.
About the casting.
Oh yeah. So yeah, they just wanted me to be a bit more sensitive towards that, and I was like, "Yep, cool, fine. I'll just tweak my performance a little bit." And they happened to really like it and invited me to meet them all in person, which was lovely. So I sort of sat down with the producers and the casting directors, had a chat with them. Really, that's all a recall is most of the time. It's just for them to meet you in person for the first time. They sort of know you can act at this point because they've already seen you on tape. Like they just want to see if they'll get on with you. And I did that. Didn't hear back again for like another 3 weeks. And then they invited me for a chemistry read, which is when you meet an existing cast member most of the time to see if you get on and you can you look good on screen together and you bounce back and forth. And my chemistry was with Summer because it was the first scene of the show for me. And we got on really well, but I had a little bit of an in because I already knew one of the other cast members, Liam Scholes, who plays Noel. He's been one of my best friends for like 6 years by this point. Like I went to college with him, so I had a bit of an in of like, I'm Liam's mate, hiya. And so we had like something like a jumping off point.
Like a spark to go off, yeah.
Yeah. So that meant that we were able to build this relationship really quickly and like really get on and go back and forth and have a laugh in the room in front of the producers and the casting directors and everything. And then didn't hear anything again for... In fact, no, it was just a weekend. It just feels like a week because it was the longest weekend of my life.
You just waiting your emails.
Yeah. I was just like refreshing my emails. It's like nobody works on a Sunday. Like,
you still want to try.
It's like, yeah, that chemistry was on a Friday, and
maybe they're working at midnight. Let's check.
Yeah.
You never know. 3 a.m, just like, nope, not yet. Okay.
I should sleep.
But then, yeah, Monday I got the call, and it was all go.
And how did that feel like getting that call?
Great. I was like, oh my God, finally. Because by this point, I hadn't been in work properly for like a year.
Yeah.
In fact, longer than that because of COVID. So this is other side of COVID. Like I hadn't been in work regularly for ages. So it was a really nice breath of fresh air, like a bit of security, which obviously is so rare in this industry of like, you know.
Yeah. How did you manage that during that time? What did you do with
COVID?
Yourself? Yeah.
Barely. I baked a lot. Baked a lot. Played a lot of video games. Just lived on Zoom basically. It was really interesting because college basically just shut down. Like we didn't. I went to an acting college, so it was like we couldn't really do much of the work. It was all practical based, so it was just like everything just stopped. So we just finished for the year.
Did you get to not finish the course then?
No, we did eventually. So they sort of, because nothing was built for remote learning when we first went into lockdown, everything did just stop. And we got to finish the school year. Luckily, we'd all done enough coursework to sort of carry us through. And then by the time September rolled around and we were still in lockdown, they'd sort of thought of ways to do remote learning for acting, and like we were able to sort of go back in, but it was still very reduced. I was only in like 2-3 days a week. It was...
I was gonna say, because you went to college a year after me or before me, because you're a year older than me. So I had it in high school where high school ended early, and then I was waiting for college, and college happened later because of COVID. And then
you
when
never sat your GCSEs, did you?
No, I never.
Wait,
I was like
lucky man.
I revised 8 hours a day. So I did the schoolwork and then revision after that. In total, about 8 to 10 hours of just work.
So what did they do? Like, how did you get...
I just got a letter saying these are your grades.
How did they work that off?
Well,
Like,
they predicted.
I wish.
Well,
I don't think you heard
actually...
that. Producer Max just said, that's mad. It is. That's ridiculous.
But the thing is, like, I was gutted because I prepared so much for them that not doing them, I felt like, I'd put so much work in.
Yeah, like...
And then the grades I got, don't get me wrong, they were decent grades to get for college because you need GCSEs for college. But then going to college was just a different ballgame because I went to an acting college like you, and it was like, it was weird doing like 1984 on a Zoom call.
That's kind of how it felt, how it feels when like you get a scene cut from a series.
Yeah.
That you've like really worked hard in, and then you watch the whole thing back. And it's just like,
definitely.
Where's that?
How's it going?
Where's that gone? I did a lot in that. That's...
What was it like watching Waterloo Road now that it's all out?
It is the first job I've watched where I've not like found it uncomfortable watching myself. It feels like I'm watching a different person. Like Billy is not Ollie, Ollie is not Billy. And I think that was a lot of me working as well in production of being like, here are my boundaries of like, I'm not letting it seep into real life that much. Obviously it does affect real life. It's almost impossible for it not to. But I made sure every night after work, I'd hang out with Zach in the hotel that we were staying in, and we just chat about the day and like try and keep work out of it, but like just talk about personal lives. Which also meant it grew into a lovely friendship, and he's literally now one of my best friends. But yeah, it's the first thing that I've been in that I've watched and I've gone, that is not Olly Rhodes on screen. That's Billy.
It's Billy Savage.
Which is quite nice because it means that I can watch it objectively and be like, oh yeah, I am enjoying this, or oh, would have done that differently. So yeah, it's really nice.
Do you find it like hard though watching yourself? Because I always find that when I watch a scene back, sometimes I'm like, oh, I could have done this or could have done that. And
Yeah,
you're very critical of yourself.
yeah, it's very easy to be like that. I think it's important to do it because that's how you develop as an actor and how you know what to do differently next time you're on a set and like how to approach things. But also you've got to maintain like, well, there's nothing you can do now.
Yeah, it's out of your
You've
control.
got to let it go. It's done. So what you've produced is still a good body of work, because if it wasn't good, the director wouldn't have taken it and wouldn't have put it in the show. So maybe that's why they cut scenes. maybe it wasn't as good.
But a scene that they didn't cut was that rooftop scene.
Yeah,
Talk to us about that, man.
That was intense. That rooftop scene was actually put off for like 3 days
Really?
because the wind. It was too windy outside. We were coming into winter. I think it was going autumn to winter, and the wind was starting to pick up, and it was just we were getting blown over on the roof. So we obviously can't film there.
Yeah.
Like it's just not safe. Like obviously we're sort of wired up, we're harnessed and everything. And what you can't see in the episode, because they VFX it out, and God knows how they do it.
That's
Yeah,
impressive.
there's loads of scaffolding laid out on the roof, like that you just can't see. And like we've all got Jason, Nathan, and I all have wires coming out the back of us that are holding us there.
Right.
Which, by the way, also blew my mind, because those wires are about the size of a shoelace, right? And yet they can lift 2 cars worth of weight,
Wow.
because they're designed to, if you fall, obviously when you hit the end of that line, you're exerting a lot more force than your actual body. So they're designed to hold a lot, but they're the size of a shoelace. That's how thick they are. Like,
It's amazing that they edited it out in post.
they painted it and like just shot around it and things. But yeah, we're all on harnesses.
Incredible.
Yeah.
I was just thinking as well, because like Boz is sat literally on like the sort of the edge of the roof as well, and I was like in my head, I was like, I wonder if there's like some trampoline. Like,
Yeah.
underneath.
Or like they
harness,
cheated it, or like they
that
put a
would
mask
make
on.
more sense.
Yeah.
Whee!
We were all
You're like,
on
oh my
harnesses.
god, not Paz again. He just bounces up and down.
It's a bungee cord.
But yeah, talk to us about that scene. Like how because you said it was intense to me. Like how intense was it?
So Billy's at his worst there. He does not know what to do at all. He can't see a way out at this point because he's been hallucinating Boz. He thinks he's going to keep seeing him now for the rest of his life because he's taken a life, and that's something that you can never take back. You can never undo. No matter how much good you do in the world, that's like, it's the worst thing possible that another human being can do to somebody. It's just end them. And sort of approaching it. I mean, thank God I had Angela Griffin directing. She's phenomenal. And she made me feel so safe and so like able to just take 5 minutes if I needed it and just like get to the space that I was in. And like after we do a take, I was able to go and just be by myself for a minute and just take a few deep breaths and just decompress. Because I mean, at one point so the original, it's written differently to how the final cut is.
Oh, right.
I'm not sure how much I can say about how it's originally written, but the way that we did view it eventually was that Billy is up there to potentially jump, like it's never going to be said, and it might not, he might not get there, but he's up there to chase Boz, and Boz is on the edge, so Billy is going to be on the edge, and it's like,
Yeah, it's kind of alluded to.
yeah.
That's what I thought was going to happen, to be fair.
And a lot of people did as well. And I'll just reiterate again, if any of you are feeling anything similar to that, like, I don't expect any of you are murderers. However, if any of you are like, your mental state is is quite tricky to navigate at the moment, please try and find support. Talk to an adult, talk to somebody who you can trust and that
We can put
help
some
you.
links.
I was just gonna say,
Yeah.
on the video as well.
Yeah, there'll be links in all of the reels, socials, everything. Just go there, find some support. It is out there.
I also want to ask, how do you, as an actor, dissect a scene? Do you think about the relationships, the whatnot, the white on the page? How do you go about
I
it?
think it's I definitely use objectives. I like, okay, what does my character want out of this scene? But I don't really like dissecting it. Like, I don't like taking every single line and be like, I'm going to say it this way. I'm going to say this way. I'm going to do this in this moment. I like to get on set, see what the other actor's doing, figure it out with them almost. Like, going with an idea of being like, look, this is my character. I know who he is. I know what I'm doing with him. And this is what he wants. And this is how he would go about it. But ultimately, if you then do something and their character is completely opposed to it, you then have to adapt your performance to that. And I don't want to get thrown off because I've already decided what I'm doing. Obviously, it's different with a monologue or like in a scene where it's just you with no words, because then it is like, well, I need to know what I'm doing. I can't just rock up on set and they go, all right, you ready, Ollie? And I'll go, what am I doing? Because you can't do that, especially in a non-dialogue scene. That's very hard to do. But yeah, I don't really like dissecting it. It just feels like you're making too many decisions early on. But then for some actors, that is what you do. I think you do something similar. You sort of take individual lines out. You don't do every single line, but you will get lines every now and then and you go, oh, I know what I'm going to do with that line.
Or I generally use it, because I went to drama school and some teachers really enjoyed like tacticking.
Yeah.
Tacticing, whatever it's called. I generally got to the point where I was like, if there's a difficult line, then I'll come up with ideas, or I'll use tactics for the whole scene. So I'll come up with maybe I encourage you, I slap you, I provoke you, and then I've just got an idea. And then as you get to know the character more, you can just know the kind of tactics that character uses, and it just gets ingrained into you anyway. Like each one of us will use general tactics each day subconsciously without realizing, because everyone uses different ways to go about their life.
How much
each
do
day.
you use it for Jared? How much do you use it for Jared on Waterloo?
Particularly when I started, a fair amount, and particularly if there's anything that has been difficult, then I used it a bit more. The process has changed as it's been going on. I feel like every day that I'm on, I tried something different and see what sticks.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
So you've got some exciting stuff coming up.
Yeah,
We can tease it.
I
know
we
that
can
allowed.
tease it.
We're allowed to tease it.
Yeah, next season, which would be cool. Really fun character to play. But yeah, it's interesting trying to build up that chemistry. Actually, I wanted to ask you about you and Jason Mango, for the Mango fans out there. I imagine just having that chemistry, that sort of rapport between the two of you, meant that you didn't have to, like you were saying, sort of plan out and dissect like how you're going to deliver the lines. You just have that back and forth there.
So I mentioned briefly earlier, we had a chemistry coaching session with a wonderful lady called Dion, who Waterloo provided. And she sort of, you go in before you start filming. So before you filmed any scenes with anybody else, you sort of go in at first individually. And she just sort of says like, okay, so who are you, first of all? Who is Ollie? Let's figure that out. And we'll just write down a few defining factors. And then we'll be like, all right, now, who do we think Billy is? Who do you want Billy to be? And, it gives you an opportunity to sort of pitch things about your character that the producers might not have thought about at first. And then Dion goes to the producer and says, this is like what he's comfortable with. This isn't what he's comfortable with. This is, he thinks he could do this. Would you guys be open to that as well? Like, it's more of a collaboration. But then when it becomes really important is after you've done these individual sessions, they'll bring you and the characters who you work with the closest in the show. They'll bring you in together and then say, right, your character's relationship. Let's think about the history. Let's think about how you guys have gotten to this point. Do you like each other? Do you have a good relationship? What do you clash on? Does your dad cook dinner for you at home? Or are you living off ready meals because he's a workaholic? When did your mum die? You know, like you just go into all the little menial things that you can just sort of be thinking about, which means that then when you get on set and it's a one-on-one scene with me and Jason, Billy and Steve have all of this history, and it gives so much more depth to the scene and to what you're saying, because you might say a line that means nothing without that history, but then as soon as you think about it and it's like, oh yeah, we did used to eat at this restaurant as a family when mum was alive, we've not been since, so this line now has weight. Like it's her birthday today and we could go to that restaurant, but we're not going to because you forgot my mum's birthday. What?
Increases the stakes as well,
exactly,
doesn't it?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just a collaboration, and it's like it just means that there is that inherent dynamic between two actors that you otherwise wouldn't get.
Did you have a favourite scene with Jason?
Favorite scene? There's one scene. I think it's in episode 8 or 7. Billy is adamant that he's going to turn himself in because Preston's just been taken in for questioning. That was one of my favourite lines. Preston's been taken in for questioning.
It's a good line.
It's a very tongue twistery line.
Taken in.
Exactly.
I need to do my vocal.
But I'm adamant that I'm going to turn myself in, and I'm looking for my dad frantically. And I find him in the corridor, and he literally just shoves me through a door to try and keep my voice down, make sure that we're not seen conspiring.
Yeah.
And he shoves me into the changing room. And just the first time that he did that, I was not prepared for it, because he's a big guy, like he's strong and he's tall. And he just grabbed my shoulders and just went, wham!
Just lifted you.
Straight, yeah, that's what it felt like. And I just went straight through this door, and I was like, okay, yeah, cool. That's how today's going to go. And it was just really fun. Right? And I had a lot of that with Zach as well, because we have a lot of physical altercations and like, just, it's like a dance. Like you work with the stunt coordinator, Matt McKay, who's been on the show.
Great guy.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, so cool.
And again, it's a collaboration. He says, what do you guys want to do? Okay, this is how you're going to do it well and safely so that none of you get hurt. And then you just get to throw each other around for a little bit. Like there's one fight in particular where they had to bury crash mats all along a pathway and then bury them in dirt so that you couldn't see them. But Shuey then literally grabs me by like the cuffs and just picks me up and throws me on the floor. And a lot of that is me jumping, and, because Zach's quite a bit smaller than me. But it's just fun to film. Like in all of the darkness that Billy had to do, the fun with the fights, ironically, because you just get to jump around and be a bit active for a bit.
It's so nice that Waterloo seems to foster that ability to collaborate.
Yes.
It's like a playground or like a training environment for a lot of like young creatives and that coming into it.
They have a trainee scheme, which is phenomenal. One of the best runners who I've ever worked with was part of the trainee scheme. His name's Olly Mortimer. Shout out Ollie.
Absolute legend. Would
Phenomenal.
always get me coffee and just always has a smile on his face.
Yeah. So for
what a
anybody
legend.
that doesn't know, a runner basically just keeps the show running. Basically, they're possibly the smallest wheel in a massive machine, but without that wheel, nobody would be where they are on time.
They're like the glue that keeps it all stuck together.
Yeah, like so they make sure the actors get on set on time, make sure they're dressed and in costume on time. They have to know where everybody is at all times. They keep everybody happy by being like, do you want tea or coffee? Do you want this? And a lot of time they'll grow into directors and assistant directors and then maybe producers. But almost all the time, that's where you start in film and TV, especially on crew. You start as a runner, and as I say, Ollie was just phenomenal, and he was a trainee. Like he's not an industry, but when he is now, he's continued to work and he's doing a phenomenal job. He's done like 3 other jobs since Waterloo, but when he joined Waterloo, I think it was his first time doing that specific job.
Yeah,
and he was just
adored by everyone.
Yeah. I don't think anybody had ever anything bad to say about him.
No.
He was brilliant.
It's amazing just like seeing him and the other trainees go into work like straight off the bat after that. And I know that there's some people within Waterloo that they actually kept on after the trainee scheme too.
Every department has a trainee as well.
Yeah.
So it's properly industry wide. So sound will have a sound trainee who learns how to balance levels and hold a boom mic properly and mic up actors. The ADs will have a trainee, which I guess is the runners, but the production office will have a trainee. Camera will have a trainee. They all have trainees, and they're all brilliant. And I genuinely think that's because of the environment that Waterloo fosters. And it's like,
Yeah, and they get like 6 months. I think it's through the scheme's called like what's it called?
screen skills.
Screen skills.
Yeah.
Definitely something if anyone wants to check it out.
Yeah, I
if
think
they're
it's like,
interested.
it's like bbc.co.uk/screen skills, something like that.
Look at
We'll
he
put-
knows the
we'll
hyperlink
put-
just straight off
put
the
link.
bat.
It'll be
Here.
there in the description.
The link and in the description, it's there. Google that. There you go.
Good luck,
There's
mate.
something for you to do, Max. That's for our editor.
Yeah,
Well, it's always felt like, even when Waterloo Road, like when it was original before it came back, it always felt like you'd see people go into the industry through Waterloo Road and then go on to do greater things. I mean, some of the caliber of people that have come out of Waterloo Road.
Olly Rhodes.
Olly Rhodes,
Matthew Khan.
No, but
Matthew Khan.
Jenna Coleman,
Jodie Comer.
Reggae.
Jodie
What's
Coleman?
his last name? Reggae. What's his last name?
Reggae.
He's in Bridgerton.
Oh, I know.
that
him.
dude? Really?
Yeah.
I had no idea. I know
Yeah.
what's the guy? I think he's called like Matt Payne or something as well. The second name's Payne.
Adam Thomas.
Yeah.
Who's still in Waterloo, but his career started on Waterloo.
He just won
and-
an award like the other
Yeah,
day.
he
didn't
did. Yeah. I was there. it was cute.
That's why you went to London.
yeah.
That makes sense.
Angela Griffin obviously has had an amazing career. Started in Waterloo. Like, there's been so many people. Waterloo's a proper good springboard for
Definitely.
so many parts of the industry. Like, it's
just nice that they let you. There's no sort of barriers. Like if you ask, you get with them a lot of the time. I know you did some shadowing of one of the directors. Lloyd.
yeah. So I'm interested in directing in the future. I by no means think that I'm capable of it now. They have to think of so many things.
Yeah.
And how their brains work is incredible, and I really want to learn how to do it. But I already knew one of the directors that was directing a later block. So I just asked the producer, I was like, hey, could I by any chance just come in and just sit on set one day, not as an actor, and just see it from this point of view? And they said, yeah.
Did you go in the editing suite too?
Yes, I did for a day.
That's mind blowing.
Wow.
It was
In
brilliant.
fact, I know there was a scene that got made of yours that you didn't actually shoot.
No. So yeah, it's a shot. So I am in the car.
Yeah.
So it's a shot of me arriving at school or being driven to school.
Yeah.
In the car, and like you see trees moving past the window and everything, and I'm like looking out the window, looking sad, being Billy, just.
Classic. If it's not episode 2,
Yeah.
then he's sad.
It's sad,
But-
yeah.
I think they realized in post production they didn't actually shoot that shot, or like they needed to pad some
Like,
time
yeah,
just for a
get some
sequence. So they were like, where do we pull this from? And there was a stationary shot from a previous scene in the series that luckily wasn't in that scene. It had been cut. It was the fat on either end of the scene. So they just took that frame of me moving a little bit, but like ultimately sitting still. The car isn't moving. Overlaid trees on top of the car, so it follows the contours of the car and all the angles and everything.
Sick.
And it looks like I'm then in a car driving. Well, I'm not driving, but I'm sat in a car being driven. I never filmed that.
That is mind blowing.
It's mad. And in fact, when you then pull up within the car, they've also cropped that shot. So that's a shot that does get used, I think, in episode 2, where your dad arrives to Serena Mitchell, whatever the character's called.
Michelle, yeah.
It's that shot of him pulling up in the car. The windows are tinted, so you can't see that you're not actually in that car. And it's just cropped, so it doesn't actually reach the point where Serena would be on the edge of that shot as well.
yeah.
It's just
just-
amazing. You never clock it.
Like, how on earth have
It's
they
just
done
wizardry.
that? And it's believable as well.
This
Like,
guy, wizard. Yeah, it's insane.
When you think about it, it's so complicated to make something so simple.
Yeah.
Like, we watch it from a point of view of it looks so simple watching it. It's actors acting and the crew doing their jobs, and then when you really like unpick it, there's so much little detail that goes into it. Like obviously for us as actors, especially, like the amount of work that we do to get the scene to where it needs to be, and then letting it all go. Like there's a lot. And then for the crew as well, like I remember when we were talking with Matt McKay about it, about the work that goes into stunt coordination.
So I think pre-production on an episode of Waterloo, the director starts a month before they even step foot on set.
Right.
Like they're just sat in an office planning, and that's planning. That's talking to all departments, being like, okay, can we get this shot? Where are we going to film this? Is sound going to have any issues here because it's echoey? Can costume source this specific thing for this scene? Can makeup make him look like he's been beaten up? And like talking to everybody and coordinating everything to make sure that it is possible and you can rock up on set by the time the actor's there and go, yeah, we know exactly what's going on. You need to be here at this time. Just do it, and everybody else will do their jobs as well. And I mean, realistically, us as actors have very easy jobs. We rock up, we get told where to sit and what to do, and then we put our own spin on it, and that's our job. And it's weird because we're pretending for a living. Not to take away from it, it is still hard and it's still knackering, but I think people forget so much of the crew and what production do.
The crew were there from like early hours until right at the last minute.
Yeah.
Whereas we will just turn up for our scenes, pretty much.
Yeah. And some days you'll be in from first moment of the day to the last moment of the day, but sometimes you'll be in for 3 hours. And it's like, that's your day.
Yeah.
And it's quite nice, but ultimately you're there to deliver a product. They're there to help. And it's just a massive team effort.
Sounds like the whole acting industry. It's a team. It's a team work.
Massively, yeah.
Collaboration.
Definitely.
It's all about collaborating. It's not individualistic.
In terms of like the acting industry, like we spoke about it already just a little bit, but like how did you get into it? What was the sort of defining moment that made you go, yo, I'm gonna be an actor?
So I had a very fortunate childhood. Like my parents would take me to the theatre and things, and like take me to the cinema. So I was able to absorb art and like see what I enjoyed. And I've always loved going to the theatre, but I'd never dreamed of being on stage, being in front of a camera. That terrified me. I used to be like quite a shy kid. And then one summer I was bored, and I just said to Mum, I was like, Mum, what can I do? I'm bored. All my friends are on holiday. Like, what? I've got 2 weeks of just dead time. Help. And she said, oh, there's a show on down at your local theatre. Why don't you go try it? And I was like, yeah, fine, whatever. It gives me something, gets me out of the house. And I went. I did like a little audition. I got it. And it was just like as an ensemble cast member as a kid. And I just loved it. I was hooked. And that love has never diminished. And it's the one thing that has been like consistent since then, since about, I think it was the summer after year 8. I was in. I was like, yeah, this is what I want to do. But then I also didn't think of it as a career until halfway through year 9 when we were doing GCSEs.
3rd year? 4th year?
Yeah.
With you?
So at first, my GCSEs, I didn't pick drama. I picked DT, music and art.
Right.
And I was like, you know what, music and art, that'll be creative. That's my creative bone tickled. But DT is my safe option. That's what I'll do for my career. I like working with my hands. Cool. But yeah, I realized 3 months in, and this isn't take away from DT. Like I still love it. I still do love doing things with my hands and designing things, and you know. But I realized I was like, I need to be acting. I need to do drama, and if I don't pour my heart and soul into it, I'm not going to make it in this industry. And it was my drama teacher that really fostered it, Miss Williams. Shout out, because without you, I would not be here. Likewise to all of the creative arts teachers at my school, like Miss Venables, Mrs. Evans, Miss Sheard, all of you, phenomenal. Because without you guys, I wouldn't be doing this. You made me believe that this was possible, and more importantly, convinced my dad it was possible. Convinced him that, you know, even if he's not massive, it's like there is a career to be had in theatre, in voiceovers, in just behind the camera. Like you can do this, and he's got an instinct for it, so let him. And ultimately, nowadays, you can retrain as anything you want at any time. I can go back to uni tomorrow if I want to. Maybe not tomorrow because
It'll be next year.
it's about halfway through the school year now. But next year, you know, I could start uni if I wanted to and get a degree. And, you know, there is no pressure anymore, which I think is so lovely. And I am in a very privileged position to say that. Not everybody has that opportunity and that stability in their personal life to have the support to be able to pursue what they want to. And I know... I mean, this is part of the thing that Screen Skills offers, is like it offers a way in for people who potentially don't have a way into the industry because their parents don't support them in the same way that I luckily had. And also there are so many other schemes where it's like if you wanted to get into theatre or even just to watch theatre, a lot of theatres now do like pay what you can. Just don't like feel no pressure, because theatre tickets get expensive, like, especially in the West End in London. But then some regional theatres, I know Leeds Playhouse do it. I worked with them on a play a year and a bit ago now. And they have a scheme where for certain shows during the week, they'll open it up to the wider community and just say, look, the prices are gone. Just pay what you can. We'll take it as a donation. But ultimately, it's just going to be put back into the scheme so that we can open it to even more people. And then also they've got theatre companies that tour schools to give kids an opportunity to see theatre for the first time, see acting and see what goes into it for the first time. And that can be the spark that, you know, means that they then pursue that path.
And anyone who does come from a low background, like myself, shouldn't be disheartened. You're capable of doing it. You know, if everyone else can, why can't you? Just believe in yourself.
Yeah, it's definitely it's almost an epidemic at the moment in the industry of like working class projects they're becoming few and far between.
Yeah.
And you know, I think people are combating it, and we're making moves. The BBC especially are helping with that, in keeping like soaps alive, keeping, you know, continuing dramas like Waterloo alive. And giving people access. That's the most important thing, is access. Just saying, look, here's an opportunity. Do you want it? Because a lot of the time people don't get that access or that opportunity. And yeah, hopefully it flips to the other side and, you know, it'll be more of an even playing field. But yeah, I'm excited for the future. It should be good.
The future's exciting. We're at a very good place, and it's interesting to see what happens. A lot of the people that watch this podcast actually are aspiring actors, or people who want to be in the industry. And I think it's important that we give as much back as we can in terms of advice for people who aren't in the positions we are in. So do you have any advice you could give to the audience?
Top 2 things: be nice and be on time.
Yes.
Like, be nice and be on time. Acting aside, just for any job, be nice. Have people want you on their job. Have people want to hang out with you. Like, obviously that's easier said than done, but like, be respectful. Just be smiley. Even if you're feeling a little bit down, it's like, you know, be open. Just talk to people. Most people are friendly in this industry. Like, they will welcome you with open arms. So go in and ask questions. Be engaged, and be on time, because if you're late, it gets expensive very quickly. And also it can throw an entire day's schedule, an entire week's schedule off kilter if you're an hour late. So just be nice, be on time. In terms of acting, just try and act. Just get out there. Try and do as much as you possibly can. There are acting classes that are run on weekends. Some are run on weekdays. I know in Manchester itself, there's a couple. Act for TV is one that a lot of people go to. I know Izzy Smith went to it. You? No, I'm thinking of somebody else. Did you go to Act for TV?
No. But we chatted with Izzy about it when she came on.
A lot of people in the industry have been at Sydney Martin. That's who I'm thinking of.
Okay.
Sydney Martin went to Act for TV. Loads of people that are now working started off there, and like, it's a really good playground to sort of learn. And
Also, DNA acting class is a great place to go.
there you go, DNA acting.
I mean, you both go there.
Yeah.
It's good. Yeah.
But yeah, just try and get out. Try and do as much as possible. Try and hone in your skills. because ultimately practice makes perfect. And I mean, you will never stop learning. You'll never stop developing as an actor. Like you look at my first jobs, they are not what I would deem acceptable. But at the time, that's what I was capable of, and that's what I did. Whereas now, it's a different story. And even then, I've learned so much from Waterloo, and I've learned so much from things since Waterloo. And it's like, you know, just in life, like pay attention, learn, develop, be open, be nice, be on time.
I think that's a perfect place to wrap up the
Yeah,
episode.
there you go.
Lovely.
Speaking of being on
Been a
time,
pleasure having you
Be
on.
on time.
It has been a pleasure to have you.
thank you very much. Cheers.
That is
A wrap.
a wrap.